Okay, thank you so much, everyone. Special thanks for being here. Okay, without you, this event wouldn't have been happening in the first place. So my topic is actually about leveraging AI. I should have done this first, but my apologies, I forgot to get this out. So it's leveraging AI in financial education, and I will tell you this short story behind this topic. So I chose that topic, honestly, because I have been an industry leader in this space, in the space of investments. I got to this interesting thing. No marketing, I'm not working for this company, it's just to give you an idea. It's a sustainable fund investment, and a lot of people, when they are still navigating around as an investor, the world of investments, when they are making a decision about what to invest in, they usually go to a financial advisor to do this. And that's in the real world, okay? And now I will come to the classroom, but before we get to the classroom, you need to understand that as a person and as being an industry leader, I've seen there's a lot of growing changes happening in the market, and this is by virtue of. Sorry, this is working. Okay, so there's a lot happening in the market, and this is where I start to notice that a lot of newcomers to Canada who come for advice in investments cannot afford to be with a financial advisor because most of the 6 banks, and I work with one of the banks, they are now favoring people who have got enough money in their accounts to start doing a financial plan and put an investment plan with them. And this is becoming a problem of sustainability and inclusion. And that's why in my topic, I'm looking at how we can turn this big challenge now of accessibility to finance, which is a sustainability. It's all about the sustainable development goals because everyone has the right to have access to finance. So if I cannot access to finance because I don't have a minimum of $250,000 to be with a financial advisor, then this is problematic. This could impact me. So now all newcomers are going to Robo-Advisors. So now there is a growing phenomena. And this is the whole research is based on the concept of Robo-Advisors. So I will take you into a deep dive of how Robo-Advisors work in the real world, and then I'll take you to the classroom. So my research started with my interest in the concept of Robo-Advisors. We heard about it, this phenomena. And so it's the robo versus the traditional. I'm the traditional, the old school of financial advisors. Now the robo-advisors are there out in the market, and most users of the robo-advisors are the new investors, newcomers, who have no idea about investments, have no idea about financial literacy, and now they are using a platform of robo-advisors that's guiding them what to invest in. And this is a very big problem that's happening. Now moving to the classroom, this is the channel, financial inclusion, low financial literacy. And now we're relying on robo-advisor, not a human. This is just a robo that's giving advice. Okay, welcome, Ranush. So you just to the platform. Okay, just answer a few questions. What's your risk tolerance? What's your investment knowledge? And those clients are, from my point of view, are victims of those robo-advisors because they're not getting enough guidance. And they may be recommended a high-risk investment, and because they don't have the investment knowledge, they need guidance. So this is a big problem that I see from my perspective. Moving on to this, we will look at how this research evolves from the real world to the classroom setting. And I'm so excited about this topic because I'm seeing this problem live in front of me. When clients come to book appointments at the banks, and all the advisors are blocking their time because they don't want to be us. When I came to Canada less than 10 years ago as a financial advisor, one of my missions and my duties is to build financial literacy for newcomers to Canada. But now there is a growing trend where all banks are not helping with the financial literacy, and they are leaving newcomers to learn about investments through the robo-advisors. So I thought about how to catch on that trend and apply it in education now, because a lot of those victims or newcomers are actually, some of them are my students, who come and start doing investments. And when I see them in investment class, I teach, by the way, investment analysis and financial planning. So I am in a classroom setting where some of my students say, I didn't know anything about investments, but I opened an account on that platform and I start trading and I lost my money. And this is where it becomes really problematic. So it's either a problem of access to finance or a problem that you lack financial literacy and you're not getting proper advice from a human advisor to guide you through the process of your investment journey. And that's why I really express so much interest in this phenomena. And not just from the perspective of looking at students in the classroom, but it started with looking at investors out there in the market as newcomers. So there is a huge growing interest in the topic. Just to let you, there's billions of dollars now being spent on machine learning, robo-advisors platforms. But to what extent is this really helping with sustainability? If we look at the success stories, it's probably few of them. So the purpose of this study is really to investigate how we could use AI responsibly. In a way, we must have heard a lot about AI opportunities and AI challenges, like in most of the presentations today. But I am applying the concept in the context of investments and financial literacy. So the main objective of this study, and this study, by the way, is part of an initiative, a big initiative. So University of Canada West, as you know, is now a member of SDSN. This is probably the seventh paper that's been published or presented in a conference under this initiative. In this initiative, I'm looking at how we could turn those challenges that I've just described for you into opportunities. Because if I can benefit students in the classroom, and those are the future investors, then I am benefiting both newcomers as well as students. So in order to achieve this, I had been looking at a number of sustainable development goals as part of this initiative, which I will talk about in details in the next slide. Oh, sorry. I would prefer not to spend too much time talking about the literature review, but I want to focus more on the gaps in the literature. Because in the literature, there's lots of gaps. So none of the robo-advisor platforms are really contributing towards financial literacy. Most of them are just helping, even the investments that are going and the research that's being done is towards how we can predict the stock price, how we can construct a portfolio, which is pure investment theoretical concepts. And this is more on the technical side. But none of those platforms are personalized enough to help guide you. So, for example, you as a newcomer, if you're starting investments, you want to find a platform that can address your needs, maybe your cultural values. So when I first came to Canada as a newcomer, I went to my financial advisor and I said, I have the privilege of having an advisor. And I asked the advisor that I would like to make sure that any investment that I make, I don't want to put any money in anything related to anything against the environment. I don't want to be putting my money in oil companies. I don't want to be putting my money in weapon or mass destruction. So no, nothing related to Boeing or these companies, and so on. So I feed in the information that I want to my advisor. The advisor gave advice. I also had the privilege, I had a little bit of financial literacy. Some people do not have even this knowledge, so they can go and do investments that are against their own culture or social values. And that's why this is a big gap that I see in the literature and a big gap I see in terms of the market. In terms of the quality education as another sustainable goal, which is SDG 4, there is a huge gap in terms of how we can personalize the experience, especially for marginalized groups, okay, who really don't have access to finance, either because they cannot afford to have an advisor, that's in the real world, but in the classroom, it's just because they don't have the literacy knowledge, which is the financial literacy part, as well as the literacy part. In terms of limited accessibility, this is, again, because of this phenomena of limited digital literacy as well as limited financial literacy, we end up by another challenge, which is creating inequality. And this is a very important thing because one of the main sustainable goals is really providing equal access to finance to anyone. So we have seen that there's misprivileges or like there's sometimes incidents where there is an inequality, there are some underrepresented groups. Inclusivity and personalization, and we already mentioned about the culture thing, and last but not least, it's aligning this with the social values. And this is very important to see how does that work. So now, how many of you are aware that you can find like an investment fund that is tailored not just to your investment needs, but to your socio-cultural or social-cultural needs or values? Like, how many of you are aware that you can customize something that matches your cultural values as well as your socio-cultural? Okay. So what's your experience on this?
Since I used to live in Dubai, all the banks offer Islamic banking. So Islamic banking is designed to provide opportunity for investment based on Islamic Sharia. So I'm familiar because I used to live there, and I know that, like there are, and I had one of my colleagues when I was studying for my PhD working on, Islamic banking. So I know that there are services by banks, opportunities for, people.
So this is great. You're lucky to know this. But my question to you now, are you aware that in Canada you can get the same experience, that you can design your investments to match exactly your religious and cultural values? Are you aware that those investments are in Canada?
I wasn't aware that this exists in Canada. No.
Yes. So this is the thing. The problem is this is not off-the-shelf products most of the time. This is a customized, personalized product. And that's why personalization is important when it comes to new users or newcomers who are dealing, or students who are experiencing this as a first-time hands-on experience. And that's why in my research questions, I try to focus on where are the core gaps and how we can address those gaps. And building a framework from those three questions, that this framework should be advocated by institutions, both education institutions, but I will come back and make the link as well about the collaboration needed from the industry as well. So the first research question here, we're trying to see how we can address those opportunities and challenges we talked about, with a focus on advancing the SDGs. In the second research question, we are trying to see how we can enhance the SDGs, like creating something called more of an SDG aligned financial education. So it's not just any education or any financial literacy, but financial literacy that is designed to adhere core values and religious values. And the third one is how we can implement, because the challenge is in implementation, and that seems to be very clear. And this is where we're using Agile approach to try to design something that is very much customized and personalized to the experience of the users. In terms of the methodology, I won't spend much time, but at this point in time, we're just waiting to, on the quantitative side and the qualitative side. So we already started the research by working on the critical review of the literature. We found the gaps, and now we are trying to build a framework. And this framework should be validated and tested, both using qualitative and quantitative methods. Okay. And in terms of how I see this research, I think this is going to be holistic, because we will look at it from the industry leaders, experts side, as well as looking at the learners and students side. And that's why we are still waiting to put forward an ethical application for this research to move on from phase 1 to phase 2. In terms of the first research question, this is the outcome of what we found as aligning the gaps and addressing the challenges and the opportunities. So as much as AI presents lots of opportunities, there's tons of opportunities we can see from this site. Very clear that AI can be a double-edged sword. It can be used in a way to help moving forward with AI, like with the sustainable development goals, and help create more inclusion, better access, more personalization. But it could be also a challenge, because and this is where I started to actually work on my previous research, which I've done in trying to see how it's impacted from investor side. Now we're moving on to the classroom side because this application is in education. So I assume in this education that learners could be students or first-time newcomers who are still learning about how they can learn about financial education and financial literacy using those AI Robo-Advisor platforms. In terms of how I see this model works, is we need to find definitely a formula where we're balancing both the opportunities and challenges of AI. And one of the ways that I think is going to be a big changer for this is to use some sort of a guidelines that should be set by the institution. And those guidelines have to incorporate how we could address all the challenges of AI and help forward the sustainable development goals. And that's why I see there's a huge connection or interrelation between advancing the sustainable development goals and enforcing those guidelines, institutional guidelines, because those institutional guidelines are addressing all the challenges of AI and presenting the AI in not just on its own, but representing AI ethics as well as sustainability goals. This is the second research question. This is just getting into more details about each SDG. And eventually, we want to make sure that each SDG is not working in silos, they are interrelating one another. I think a key component for SDG 17 is institutions, especially education universities, need to collaborate with the industry to be able to achieve this. Because universities are working on their own to try to tackle this topic of AI, but I think the interrelation between the 5 SDGs is key component for success. Last but not least, the third research question is how we can make it happen and how we can implement this. It's using Agile framework, and this is my proposed Agile framework. And the key success in this framework is 2 things. Collaboration from all stakeholders, that's key, because in most of the time, we don't see there is interrelation or collaboration between, for example, us as faculty and the IT department. I always find it difficult to reach even to IT to fix even something, but I don't see why us as faculty and IT are not collaborating to try to present a model and getting students as well feedback as part of the collaboration. Another key thing is to make it a learner-centric. And this is going to be the most important step because through personalization, we make it adaptable for each person's case based on their own social culture. So someone like Vahida, who has very strong religious values, she should receive some sort of, her feedback should be incorporated into the AI Robo-Advisor. So when they are offering investments, we want to make sure those investments are in line with her values. And of course, this is in order to make it happen, it has to be an iterative process where every time we receive feedback, we go and fix it. And this is the check and balance where we can measure success through the continuous improvement. In conclusion, I think the key takeaways here is collaboration is crucial. And this collaboration can happen using Agile model where IT, faculty, education leaders, and students are part of the collaboration. We work together as a team to make this happen. And if we manage to do this, then we have to look into balancing both the opportunities and challenges side by setting a very, very clear, streamlined, ethical and governance policies institutional-wise. I think the institution is more focusing on applying AI in a way that's our biggest fear is students would use AI to cheat in exams or to do their assignments using AI. But the big question remains how we can use AI as institution to create a policy where AI can be a catalyst for making a difference on the learning side. Thanks.